Peace and love, people. In this video, I want to elaborate a little bit on how to make African Americans great again. How do we do that? You know, I heard a lot of people say we live in a rigged society. White supremacy rules America. White supremacy rules America. I've heard people say that, and I'm not going to object to it because there's a lot of truth to those things. You know, I do believe the system is rigged, and I do believe that white supremacy exists. However, I refuse to keep falling into the same traps. And the way we overcome this is just by developing a black supremacist mind state. Now, I'm not saying hate white people, because you're going to hear me say this a lot on this channel. While there are a lot of racist whites in America, a lot of whites just don't give a shit one way or the next. They just want to be left alone. They want to live in peace. And in most situations, a lot of them will help you. You know, if they see that you a person that's trying and you stand up individual, in my experience, a lot of white people don't mind helping you. Now, you have those ignorant ones out there who watch World Star Hip Hop or BET videos, and they think all blacks act that way. They think all blacks act like unprofessional, ghetto, thugs, gangsters, twerkers, bad bitches. And that's their ignorance and stupidity for putting everybody in a box. Then you have some people out there who just like, hey, look, I don't necessarily want my kids dating interracially, but I don't hate you. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's nothing wrong with people wanting to see their children and grandchildren look like them. Moving on to the topic at hand, how do we make African Americans great again? I want you to go back to the time of Black Wall Street. Some of y'all may know about it, some of y'all may not. But in Tulsa, Oklahoma, there was actually a Black Wall Street, where black people had their own theaters, their own banks, they had their own businesses, their own little world. And it said that the average dollar went through the family, maybe 5 or 6 families shared the average dollar. Those people established wealth. One day, a white woman was on the black side of town in a black elevator with a black man, and they were basically involved in a interracial relationship, which, as you know, the history of this country, that was forbidden during that time. She ran out the elevator screaming bloody murder because she didn't want to be exposed, and that started it. These white racist cops, they get this guy, they drag him, and they give him a militia, they give him some militia justice. Then they started going door to door. In a Rosewood type situation, they started going door to door, knowing that they were pulling innocent black men and families out of the house and killing them. Well, those blacks started to fight back. Then the sheriff declared a state of emergency, and they actually bombed those people. Long story short, they burnt Black Wall Street down. And if you look at it, it was really because the black people were self-sufficient. They didn't need white business. They didn't spend money in the white world. So if you want to combat white supremacy, you got to develop a black supremacy mindset. And you got to say, okay, my black dollar is going to be spent with a black company. If white people won't respect me as a black person, then they can't have my black dollar. And that's the key to all of this. However, I was looking at a video not too long ago on a black woman who started her own hair salon, her own hair shop. And her logic made sense. Why do we allow Oriental people to sell us African American hair products? Makes no sense at all, right? Anyway, this young sister had started her business, and she was doing well, and guess what happened? Pookie and Ray Ray from the hood went in to rob her and took this beautiful young queen's black life. And that's our problem. At the end of the day, We are our own worst enemies. Because I'm having a hard time seeing how white supremacy played a role in two black thugs robbing a black woman and killing her in her business establishment. I'm having a hard time seeing how white supremacy has Crips and Bloods and Vice Lords and GDs and all these other gangbangers taking each other out like it's a sport. I'm having a hard time seeing that. So if we are to ever overcome, we got to start looking at ourselves as African Americans and making ourselves great again by going back to that mindset that people had with Black Wall Street or Seneca Village in New York. We got to go back to that. We got to go back to supporting one another. I'm not a big fan of T.I., but he had a point last year when he said black people should boycott Gucci. And while he had a valid point, yours truly, Floyd Mayweather, decides, I got a personal vendetta against this guy because we're in a love triangle involving his wife. Let me go and spend $100,000. Then when they asked him, hey man, look, why did you spend your money in there? And they calling for black people to boycott the store. I spend my money wherever I want. The bottom line is, this is why black brands don't survive, because black people don't support black people. Now I want to elaborate on the Chinese community. The Orientals, look at them. They'll come over, they'll start a business, and they'll have authentic Asian products. And when you go to the stores, guess who's in there spending money? You guessed it, other Asian Americans. They look out for one another. So I think maybe 45–50% of African Americans listen to hip hop. Out of that 45 or 50%, 30% are greatly influenced by it. Hip hop induces stupidity. You know, you see the guys, you see the rappers, and they put them on TV. They have 1,000,001 tattoos by the time they're 16 years old. They have criminal records by the time they're 17 years old. Whole life is basically ruined. And these young aspiring artists, they take one gamble, one single gamble on hoping they'll be good enough to get a record deal. And you know, it's a lot of pollution. It's just crap everywhere. And our kids are affected by it. Hell, it's a time in my life I was affected by it. You know, I grew up in the 90s. I grew up at the height of the NWA Tupac era. So it was a time where I got affected by it. Had me thinking I was a gangster or a thug, when in truth, I was just a country boy who grew up on a farm. But going to school and being made fun of for being different, I tried to adapt, and I let hip hop tell me that you a tall 6'2" black man with a muscular body. This is what you're supposed to be doing. Boy, was I wrong. Anyways, we just gotta live above the image. We gotta go back to taking pride in ourselves. And when I see gangbangers who like to kill each other, show me a gangbanger that don't have a problem going out and killing 5 or 6 men that look like him, and I'll show you a man that hates what he sees staring back at him when he looks in the mirror. So if we are to overcome this white supremacy in America, we need to develop a black supremacy mindset. No, that don't mean hate white people. Black supremacy mindset simply means that you're going to be the best you can be, the greatest you can be as an African American, and you're going to start either A, trying to start your own businesses, or B, spend money with other black people. Spread the word to other black people. While it is a long, far-fetched goal, it can be attained. It can be achieved. As African Americans, we can become great again. Now, there are some great African Americans in this country, and I don't want to take from that. And there are some of you out there that's already got that mindset of being great. I'm not trying to take from that. I'm just simply talking about the image that the media often portrays of us. If the rappers and the basketball players and the actors and actresses in Hollywood, if they're not going to change the way we portrayed, then it's up to you as an individual to live above the image. Till next time, peace and love, family. Let me know what you think.